So here we are back in the dark. Now, I was complaining before about the BBC. It's just spouting total bullshit. And there was a science program on today. Today being Thursday, it's down here, isn't it? The 14th of September 2017, and it's what a day, because it's a very a massive day for NASA, because they sent some type of a probe. When I say this, of course, I don't believe any of it, but they sent some type of a probe up to well, I don't know. You see, I don't really care, and I don't take any notice of their bullshit. But they launched it in the 70s, I think, in the mid 70s, and it's just dead now. And that's because of course, the nuclear reactor. See, they needed the nuclear reactor thing to power this probe. I can't remember the name of it now. Is it Cassini or something? It was some some Freemasonic meaning, of course. But it ended up at Saturn. Would you believe? Saturn. Yes, we all know what that means. If you're a Freemason, hello. Yes, we know what it means. We know what it means to the Catholic Church, the whole Christianity thing, and so it had to end there. It had to sort of oh dear. Anyway, what they were saying on this, they didn't mention any of that on the radio, of course, but what they did say was that this thing was sending out so much data, sending it back to them, and they actually said that they got it. I'm sure he said instantly, but it must have been just a figure of speech, because in the best of will of the world, even going by their bullshit speed of light nonsense, radio waves travel, about that speed, and so even that doesn't mean instantly, because it takes 8.5 minutes for the light from the sun to reach us. So Saturn's a bit further out than that. So what a load of bullshit. So just be careful what language you use. I'm sure Radio 4 are normally quite selective. But just if you believe this bullshit, just look up something called the inverse square law. And that will demonstrate that for them to send data back from that supposed distance is not only is it completely impossible, it's so ludicrous for them to even suggest that this is going on, that it just shows how deep the indoctrination is. The Hollywood space movies, in the 50s, they were beginning to indoctrinate all the Western world into believing that the vacuum of space is a real thing, and you can just travel around in it, because what there isn't is any friction. There's no friction, so you can just, off you go. You don't need any energy. It's a good job, actually, because you can't go any faster, because rockets don't work in space. Rockets do not work in a vacuum, should I say. So you can't accelerate. And how the hell do you decelerate? When you're approaching the moon at I think it was was it 23,000 miles? I think it was 23,000 miles an hour they were supposedly going at when they went. That's the rate they were going at when they went to the moon, because for the Saturn V rocket to reach the speed that it would have to reach to escape the gravitational pull of the Earth, it had to reach an incredible speed, something even 20,000s of miles an hour anyway. And because that wouldn't get any less, of course, in the vacuum of space, of course it wouldn't get any less. They didn't have. I mean, even if they had a huge parachute, it would do naff all difference. It wouldn't. You understand? There's nothing there. So there's no molecules. There's nothing to act as drag against. As that's why rockets don't work, because there's nothing to push against. You can't say, well, I'm propelling from the thrust of the rocket is propelling. No, because that's like you've got muscles in your arms, and your muscles are working, and you're picking yourself up while you're standing in a wheelbarrow. So just imagine standing in a wheelbarrow. You crouch down in the wheelbarrow. You grab each edge of the wheelbarrow, each side, and you pull. You're trying to lift yourself off the ground, you and the wheelbarrow. Do you see how ludicrous that is? Now, you can apply that logic to a rocket in the vacuum of space, the non-existent vacuum of space. That's why I know all this is bullshit. All you have to do is do a simple test. Look it up. Look it up. So the BBC spent a half hour, I think it was a half-hour special. I actually fell asleep because I was so bored with the bullshit. But I thought I better listen to it, because it might be a laugh, but I'd just like to listen to the kind of nonsense that they spout, so I know, facts and figures to be able to say, well, how could it? But the other thing, of course, is in our supposed heliocentric solar system, which is nonsense, we are spinning. The Earth, the spherical nonsense globe Earth, is supposedly spinning at 1,037.5 miles an hour at the equator. So the data is being collected by what? But not only that motion, of course, we're going around the sun at 66,000. No, I think it's 66.6 thousand miles an hour, of course. So who come up with these figures? And then, of course, the solar system, the sun, with dragging all the so-called planets with it, is going around the spiral arm of the galaxy, which is called the Milky Way. But not only that, the galaxy is moving around something called the Great Attractor. And the sum total of the speeds of all this is, there's all sorts of different bullshit theories, of course. And I think it's somewhere between 150 million miles an hour and 220 million miles an hour. Yeah, okay. And so while all this is going on, some kind of radio signals sending data from a tin box in space, driven by a nuclear reactor, sending data to the Earth, sending data to the Earth. But not only that, it's sensing It's sensing different gases. Ooh, yeah, bit of sulfuric acid, is that? Yeah, I think it is sulfuric acid in the atmosphere. It must rain sulfuric acid in that. You know, what utter bullshit. So, so it can sense things. It knows what planets are made of. It knows what their atmosphere is. It can detect heat. It can. Oh yes, it has the technology that we could only dream about in the 1970s. Yet it's got it all now because it must have upgraded itself. I think it must have gone for an upgrade. You know, it must have gone in for a pit stop maybe somewhere, and just plugged in USB and got a great load of new fresh programs for it. That's what an upgrade. And now it can do more or less anything. It's the Swiss Army knife of probes. Yet sadly, its nuclear fuel is just run out today, and it's crashing into somewhere. I don't know. I don't give a toss, obviously. But yeah, and if you really think that's happening, I don't really feel sorry for you. I just think you should give yourself a slap, and face up to reality. Just look up the inverse square law, and then take all those movements into consideration. You don't need to take the movements into consideration because it's not happening. It's all nonsense. But anyway, there's more, of course. There's a lot more to this. More symbolic, sorry, should I say, times and dates and I don't know enough. It doesn't interest me to know all that shit. I think if you do fill your mind with all that nonsense, you kind of I just get on with my life. It doesn't really affect me. I know now what I know, and I do try and tell other people. I do try and just like we say, plant the seed. Try and make them think about it, like the light coming from the sun. That one, that's always a good one. 8.5 minutes. How the hell can you see something light years away when you can't see a light half hour away? Well, you'd be barely. Anyway, you can kind of tell what I'm getting at there. Just 8.5 minutes, double it, the sun halves in size, and carry on with that process until you get to a light day away. A light day, and see how big the sun is then. So I'll go for one light year away. Come on, a light week away, you wouldn't see a thing. And yet we're told that there are hundreds of light years away. Some of these places, some of these stars that we see. The stars, are stars, and the planets are wandering stars. And it's a big clock. It's a big electric clock. So if you look at it like that, it makes perfect sense. We live on a motionless and a static plane, and everything goes around above us. And it's so feckin' obvious. Just you try and get this same. How come? Hey, look, it's so obvious. The pole star hasn't moved for since man has recorded its position. Now, if that doesn't mean anything, with all these different motions that we're supposed to be going through, I can nail a piece of tube to my shed with the pole star in focus, and it would, no matter if I could see the pole star, it would be through that every day.